Your marriage feels over, but divorce seems too final, too scary. You're lying awake wondering, is there another way? Something that gives me space without ending everything forever. My name is Jeff Hughes. I'm the lead attorney at Sterling Lawyers, and we've helped thousands of Wisconsin couples at this very crossroad. So let's break down the 5 biggest differences between legal separation and divorce so that you can choose the right path. Now, first, the commonalities between divorce and legal separation. The process for both of them is exactly the same. And in the end, you get orders covering property division, children, and financial support. The difference is you are still legally married but separated. Now that you know the commonalities between divorce and legal separation, let's get into the 5 big differences between the two. Difference number 1, reconciliation. Restoring your marriage is easy as filing a simple form with the court. Now, a common scenario that we see is that the parties go through the process and they achieve a legal separation and they get a final order of legal separation, and then time goes on. Healing wounds. You've grown, your spouse has grown, and suddenly you're asking the question, is there hope for us? Can we get back together and have a happy marriage together? Well, the good news is if that occurs, and I hope that it does for your sake, if that occurs, converting your legal separation to a divorce is as simple as filing a joint document with the court stating that your marriage is no longer broken and that you want to get back together in a marital status. And that's filed under Wisconsin Statute 767.35 sub 5. Now, in contrast, if you're divorced and that occurs, and that does happen as well, then you will need to actually be remarried and go through the whole wedding process again. Now, recall a case once we had, and the parties' names were John and Maria. Not the real names, but for purposes of this video here, they were married for 28 years and they separated. And after 18 months apart, legally separated, they decided they wanted to reconcile. And because they were only separated, getting back together was simple. And they told us if we'd a divorce, we might not ever have found our way back together. Difference number 2, legal separation affords debt protection that divorce does not. Whenever there are 2 people that are married in Wisconsin, all debt is marital debt, meaning both parties have to share that. And if you have one spouse who is a gambler and is completely wasting the couple's money and running up debt, well, unfortunately, that other spouse is also responsible for that debt. But what if that happens and the parties want to stay married, but that spouse who is responsible with money doesn't want the responsibility of paying for the other spouse's gambling debt? What do? Well, you can get a divorce, but now you're divorced. But what if you want to stay married? Well, you can get a legal separation and you can remain married and not be responsible for the other person's debt. Difference number 3, health insurance. Whenever parties are legally separated, in many cases, one spouse is able to stay on the other spouse's health insurance. And this has the effect of reducing costs or providing coverage where one spouse would have a hard time achieving it. Now, this doesn't apply across the board in every single case. You have to look at the individual insurance companies. Some allow that, and some have specific prohibitions against that, meaning that if the parties are legally separated, they cannot stay on each other's health insurance. But it is available in some cases, and it is an important distinction between divorce and legal separation that may benefit parties, especially those that are advancing in years. Now, this is all found under Wisconsin Statute 632.897, where many employer plans may allow continued coverage, especially in group health plans. Remember, you have to check your specific plan because it is plan specific. It's not a legal requirement by these health insurance companies. A practical example of this was a case involving Karen and Dave. Again, not their names. They were struggling under the stress of a long-term illness. Their marriage was struggling. It was broken, but not irretrievably broken. And Karen's health plan covered Dave's treatments. So what they chose to do is they chose legal separation because Dave was allowed to stay on Karen's insurance and keep the coverage he had until all his treatment was over and concluded. Then they were able to either at that point convert that legal separation to a divorce or keep it in place or even go back and be married again. Difference number 4, estate planning. Now, this can get very complicated and in the weeds, but I'm just going to point out the headline is that there are some advantages in planning out an estate, whether that be through a will or through a trust, that staying married but yet legally separated is best. And it often shows up in cases where there is a second marriage and children for both spouses from their first marriage. So I don't want to get deep into the details and the weeds here, but talk to your estate planner if that situation describes you. Difference number 5, tax advantages. So you and your ex are separated, but things are still civil and maybe even cooperative. Then tax season rolls around and filing jointly could save you thousands of dollars. That is when it is to your advantage to stay married and legally separated. The IRS allows you and your legally separated spouse to file taxes together. A lot of clients believe that separation ends your ability to file taxes together, but that is not the case. The law says otherwise. This means you can still file jointly and often save a lot of money. Now remember, if you are legally separated, it is a very simple matter to convert that legal separation back to a standard marriage where you're married, or convert that to a divorce. So within a year of the legal separation being granted, both spouses need to agree to convert that to a divorce. After a year, only one spouse needs to believe that the marriage is irretrievably broken and therefore convert the separation to a divorce. That is a simple process that can be done. Once that is converted to a divorce, the requirement to wait 6 months to be remarried still applies, just like a standard divorce. Now, you've seen how separation protects your finances and your future, but if children are involved, the stakes get even higher. One wrong step and you could lose control over major decisions in your child's life. In this next video, we talk about how to win sole legal custody in Wisconsin and avoid the traps that catch most parents off guard. Don't miss it, and we'll see you over there.